Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Courtside Soundoff Podcast. I'm Josh Evanoff. He's Angel Ortega. And we have a lot to talk about today. UFC, Conor McGregor announcing his return. The NBA, there's a lot to talk about in the world going on over there. Boxing, the Ortiz recap. We're going to talk about some of the biggest fights of this year and next year. And the news that Floyd Mayweather is officially returning in 2020. Before we get into that, I want to shout out Amazon. Amazon, one of our wonderful sponsors that help us each and every single week, giving you a great, wonderful podcast, or a slightly average podcast, depending on your opinion of us. If you want to go to the link on the Podbean page or the YouTube page, buy something to help support us. You can help yourself as well. It's Black Friday, and it's going to be Cyber Monday after that, so get yourself something nice. Go out and go shopping. We'll talk about our other sponsor, Target, and help us with Black Friday deals there in a bit. But for right now, I just want to thank Amazon for supporting the podcast as always. UFC yesterday, actually it was the night before to officially clear something up. Former writer for Courtside Press actually broke the news that Conor McGregor's return was official. It was signed. It was a done deal for January T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. That opponent being the one and only Donald Cowboy Cerrone. We've heard about the talk for a long time now. I'd say the majority of this year about the Conor fight. It did not come to fruition. There were negotiation issues. There was an injury suffered by Conor where he broke his hand in training. And they were originally targeting, Conor to come back in December on the 245 card happening in a couple weeks, but they couldn't get him on there. It was 2-packed, 3 title fights. Conor wasn't going to main event over those. So they made this pay-per-view specifically for him. They built it up, put it in the T-Mobile Arena. It's as big of arena as they can do. And they gave him an opponent that he has a previous history with Cowboy. I remember 4 years ago watching Conor, who was a featherweight at the time. He was going to fight Jose Aldo for the undisputed title, because this was after he'd already beat Mendez. And him and Donald going back and forth on stage, talking shit to one another. And I remember Donald told him to keep his skinny ass down at 145. Well, Conor came up to 155, won the title that Cerrone was in, and Cerrone's gone back and forth. He went to 170, went to 155. He's bounced back and forth. This fight's going to take place at 170, and I guess, Angel, I'm going to get your initial reaction of the big news, because I know you and I have followed Conor McGregor's career for the most part. You kind of started watching the sport around the time that he broke into the scene and broke into the mainstream. What do you think about the news that he's coming back against Cowboy Cerrone in January?
Dude, it's crazy. I was on Twitter pretty actively that whole day, and I'd seen the rumors, Instagram, Twitter, everything for quite a while, and then finally once I saw, I want to say Bleacher Report or a number of other official kind of outlets kind of put it out there. I was like, oh shit, it's time, and obviously the old clip of Cowboy talking, with Conor back and forth at that event against Aldo, obviously that is just. It was funny. It's like, it was set up then, and then finally we're getting it years later. And I mean, what can I say? It's about to be a good fight. Try to look up the betting odds here quickly, because there's actually something pretty interesting, right? Or at least some interesting numbers that I wanted to bring up. Last time we brought up betting odds for Logan Paul versus KSI, but I kind of want to look them up here quickly at some point if I can for this, because I thought they were kind of interesting. But overall, man, I think it should be exciting. I'm sure the undercard will be great. And I'm sure the payday will be great for Cowboy.
Yeah, it'll be great for him. He's going to get that red panty night.
There you go.
I actually saw the betting line come out, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. Do you have that pulled up yet?
I'm looking for it. I just passed it. They have another. For some reason, they have Conor versus Justin here for some reason.
That was the rumored fight, if the Cowboy one wasn't going to come together.
Okay, so right now as it stands for Bet Online, non-sponsored, by the way, Cowboy's at a plus 190, and then Conor's at minus 225.
I'd say that's pretty accurate.
There you go. And obviously, this could change at any point. Because, betting lines just change. But as it stands right now, that's what it's at.
I expect after, press conferences and weigh-ins, I expect Conor to become an even bigger favorite. But the fight is really interesting to me because stylistically speaking, this is a tailor-made fight for Conor, and that's not to crap on Donald Cerrone because I love Cowboy, everybody loves Cowboy, and his kicks are ruthless. He's a monster on the ground. He's an underrated monster on the ground too. The guy's ruthless. And obviously he's had a lot of great wins, great performances, especially lately after he became a father. Dad Cerrone is almost unstoppable. But, he did lose to Gaethje, he did lose to Ferguson. And if there's one style, there's one mark for Cowboy, it's been that he kind of struggles in the big fights, and he struggles against southpaws with knockout power who come on quickly. And that's literally describing Conor McGregor. But also, Conor McGregor hasn't won a fight in 3 or 4 years now, which is really crazy to think about. His last one was UFC 205. And obviously he lost to Floyd, which I don't think anybody really cares. That was just a glorified exhibition. But he lost to Floyd in boxing, and then he lost to Khabib. And we don't know where he is at this point because he's still only 31 years old, but he hasn't been actively competing. But honestly, if Conor comes in at even 50% of what he was against Eddie Alvarez in his last win 3 years ago, I think he gets the win.
What's up? And do you think it'll be a 5-round or three-rounder?
It's confirmed to main event, so I'm assuming it should be 5, but also this is pretty short notice.
Now, do you think does the 5-round benefit probably Cowboy or Conor?
Oh, absolutely. I think it benefits Cowboy.
I was gonna say, I feel like it benefits Cowboy because you've seen those late rounds for Conor. It's been something dreadful. Do you think going into the fight, if Cowboy's able to make it pretty, make it the distance, obviously him stay in it and perform, he can maybe win in a way like that? Or do you think it's going to kind of have a different couple aspects about it that are going to have to go a certain way for Cowboy to take the victory?
I think for Cowboy to take the victory, Conor's going to have to come in the way that he's been acting. The way he's been kind of not really been in the fight game, the way he kind of has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think if Conor gets fully reinvested, and he said he's treating 2020 like a season. That's a word that he did a press conference not that long ago in Russia, where he said he was treating 2020 like a season, how football, sports have a season. He's treating it like a season. He wants to have 3 fights, and he wants to stay active because he stays active, he keeps in training, he's more focused. If Conor comes in focus in the way that he was determined, in the way John Kavanagh, I saw him talking about how focused Conor has been, it's the first time we've seen him as focused in a long time, I think that Cowboy is going to get murked. But honestly, if Conor doesn't, Cowboy's going to come in with his A game because this is his big moment. This is his Nate Diaz moment. This is his moment to become a giant star, to get all that money.
Again.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
All right. That's what I want to know, man. I don't know. I agree with you. I think no matter what, I don't think it'll be an easy fight for anyone. You know what I mean? There's a lot on the line for both. You know what I mean?
I'm honestly expecting a war. A lot of people just think either Cowboy's gonna get walked down and knocked out, or Cowboy's gonna, dominate him in a lopsided decision. I think it's gonna be a war. I think these guys are a lot closer right now than people think.
I think than ever, I think at this point in their careers, they're both in a very interesting moment. Cowboy, kind of having not necessarily a revival of his career, but kind of an upside recently, right? And then and then fighting the quality of opponents he's had, you know what I mean, recently, back to back to back. Cowboy's last 4 or 5 fights are all against really good people, insanely good people. Not even his last 5, probably his last 10, realistically, right?
Yeah, I can run down something like his last 10. Masvidal, Lawler, Darren Till, Yancy Medeiros, who was still ranked at that time, Leon Edwards, Mike Perry, Alexander Hernandez, Ali Aquinta, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje. Off the top of my head, every single one of those guys are ranked, and Yancy Medeiros and Mike Perry were the only 2 outside of the top 10. Leon Edwards, Jorge Masvidal on the bridge of a title shot. Darren Till did get a title shot. Robbie Lawler is a former champion. Tony Ferguson's getting a title shot. Justin Gaethje's on the border. Ali Aquinta got a title shot. He's faced the best of the best.
And now he has to take on Conor fucking McGregor at this point in his life to top it off. Isn't that something right there? That's actually an amazing way. That's an amazing resume. You know, wins or losses and in between. It's just the fact that he faced those people. All respects to Cowboy, always entertaining us. So no matter what, the fight's gonna be amazing. I think that's like one of the more important things is that a fight should just entertain people more than anything.
Yeah, I think that fight's gonna be a banger. But listen, Angel, I gotta give you some credit on this one. Because I'm sure that you knew whenever you predicted Donald Cerrone would beat Ally Quinto. I'm sure you knew that a year later, not even a year later, a couple months later, we'd be sitting here talking about Cerrone and McGregor. I'm sure you knew that, right?
Dude, the whole Conor thing was a big deal, you know, because Conor was still ranked. It was like, is Conor versus Cowboy gonna happen? And then remember?
He lost twice.
Yeah. And then what was the big thing? It was like, who's the big thing? Who's Cowboy gonna fight? Is he gonna fight Tony? Is he gonna fight Justin? Is he gonna fight Conor? And that was the big rumor at the time, you know, because they were trying to figure that out. And you know, I was like, first of all, I don't think the Conor fight should happen right now. I feel like it makes sense, but I don't want it to happen. And I was like, Tony. I don't think Tony should, because Tony should already have that title shot. I was like, Justin should be the fight. Obviously, that did happen eventually. Not at the time I wanted, but it happened. And now, we're getting that Conor fight. We got all three of those fights, actually. I just thought about that. Never mind. No matter what, it didn't matter what reality we were in. We got all those outcomes, so there you go. Just thought about that. So there you go.
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
And there you go. We're about to have it here not too long from now. Honestly, that's really not a long time from now. And it happened.
Yeah, it's like 6 weeks away. But I know a lot of people have been shitting on this fight. And like just on Twitter, MMA Twitter and Reddit, I'd say are some of the big ones. I see like more in the mainstream, people don't care as much, but a lot of people are like, why didn't he fight Gaethje? And I could be the only one that thinks this way, and I want to get your opinion about it, obviously. But like, my viewpoint is, why would Conor come back? And all people are like, he's getting an easy fight. I'm like, first of all, Donald Cerrone's an easy fight for no one. And then second of all, why would Conor McGregor come back to fight a guy who's on the verge of a title shot? Because everybody's complaining how he gets title shots, right? People complain that he comes back and is immediately in the title picture. But why would you want him to fight a guy that's about, you know, on the border of a title shot? If Tony Ferguson didn't exist, then Gaethje's getting that title shot. And fighting a guy who was right there instead of a guy, because Conor hasn't won since 2016. It makes more sense for him to fight a guy like Cerrone, who's been up and down, but still in the top 5, rather than a guy like Gaethje, who's currently streaking.
No, those are facts, bro. Those are big facts.
Because Conor hasn't won in 3 years.
And then he's fighting someone who's still, what is it, ranked 4th, 5th, right?
5th.
Yeah, and has probably been fighting the best people recently, and is a pretty good fight that'll test him. You know, I think it's a good fight for him because it'll make him gauge where he's at right now. You know what I mean? I feel like that'll really give him that good idea of where he's at that point in that moment. You know, in his skills and everything. Make sure he's polished.